What's up?
We are here with Garrett once again. How you been?
I've been doing okay. I've been in the laboratory, kind of trying to cook up a little bit stronger version of the Infenoid deck I've been playing, and more testing concludes the deck can still get stronger.
Yes, I didn't say it, but he won once again here at Gamer Dojo. As you heard, he's on a 10-0 here.
Yeah. The deck's been treating me well.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the deck profile.
So a few things have changed this time. The big one is the deck is now cringe. It is unfortunately officially cringe because we are playing Snake Eye cards. While the Snake Eye engine is very strong, you do things a little bit differently in this deck, and that is you're predominantly using Ash and Poplar to get you into your Infenoid cards, because Ash searches out a level 1 fire, not necessarily a Snake Eye, and an original gets you into Decatron. Still, the Snake Eye cards do provide a lot of advantage. You just do the line a little bit differently than you would in Snake Eye. So as for the ratios, they're pretty standard. I cut a little bit down on here because it is an Infenoid build, but we do play 3 Snake Eye Ash, only 1 Poplar, 1 Oak, and 1 Flamberge. It's a pretty small package there. We play 3 Dia Bellstar in this deck. She's very strong because pitching Infenoid out of your hand to search original for Decatron is very good. I'm playing the Temple for now. I'm just trying it out. Unlike pure Snake Eye, it's not as necessary as it is. But if you already have access to original, it's just a fine card to get. Makes your end board's a little more resilient to certain things, like board breakers. The 1 original Simple Spoils, and then playing 3 copies of Wanted, obviously one of the best cards in the deck. And then we are playing Fiendsmith as well. So we play 3 Engraver, and the Lurie, and then unlike normal Snake Eye, we play 2 Tracked. This card is a little more powerful in this deck because it has an additional target, and the discard is less relevant in this deck because you're pitching Infenoids, which happen to love to be in the graveyard. So it's basically not a neg at all. The other target we can get off of Fiendsmith Tract is Evil Hero Dusted Gold. This card is really just a one-of because you only want to see it when you already have a hand that works with it. A Dusted Gold searches you Dark Fusion, so you can basically pivot the Fiendsmith engine into Fusion, which you'll see in a second what the Fusion targets are, but if you're an Infenoid player, you already know. As far as the Infenoid cards, we play a lot of them. We play 3 Decatron. This is probably the second best normal summon in the deck, but it is still very strong. It represents so much, and you're usually looping him multiple times a turn to either break boards or set up different points of interaction and negates when you want them on your turn to play around certain hand traps. As far as the rest of the Infenoid names, I play mostly 2 of each, a few exceptions. We have 1 Pyramid and 1 Piety. These are just 2, they have the least applications in the deck, and are the lowest levels in terms of fusion material for the respective tiers of Infenoid. If by tiers I mean like Pyramid you banish 1, Piety you banish 2, all the higher levels you banish 2. So they're kind of the least good ones to hard draw. And then going up the ladder, play 2 Antra, 2 Harmadic, a Monster Pop, 2 Patrulia, Spell Trap Pop, 2 Sajet, he's just a level 6, that's honestly the most important thing. 2 Saitsumas. He can force certain things out in the battle phase, which is really strong. Just being able to non-target banish a card in the field if he attacks really helps you clear some boards or makes forces like certain negates, which are really bad to just use on him. 2 Atondel, probably the most underrated card in the deck. Atondel essentially represents 5,600 damage on the board, assuming he attacks over something. This helps you OTK a lot in this deck, and especially in simplified game states. Or just being able to clear 2 monsters is really strong. 2 Deviati. That's the monster negate, and your Heavy Storm. And then something I tried differently this time is 2 Anonku. I used to play 3 because it's the highest level one, so it's technically the best to draw if you poly it away from hand. I've been trying 2 because obviously it still is a brick, and with the Snake Eye cards, it's a lot more searchable than it used to be. Alright, as far as the Infenoid spell traps, we play 1 Reignition. You usually just grab this as part of your combo, or sometimes it's just a fine draw to have. It's nice to be able to search this card that fixes your entire follow-up, especially if you're against Runic and they start milling you, and then you just Reignition, put them all back in your grave. A lot of lists play like maybe 1 Imagination. I think that's completely wrong. This is just, if this deck goes first, it has some very, very strong lines, and I think it's honestly fine going first. But if you go second, you have to play through a lot of boards. And a card like this, which basically represents Shaddoll Fusion, going second, is so strong. Getting 6 names in grave, and being able to summon out an Evil or Tierra, which forces even more interaction, is extremely powerful. I think this is absolutely a 3 of, although I do side usually a copy out when I'm going first. Void Banishment, usually using that to search Feast at the end of your turn. Feast, obviously an obscenely powerful card, can represent up to 3 DD Crow bodies or a couple negates in a body on your opponent's turn. If you go fully uninterrupted, this usually represents like 5 or 6 negates on the end board, and I'll show that later, what the 1-card combo is in this deck. And there is a 2-card combo, which is a lot scarier too, but as far as the non-engine goes, we play Instant Fusion, probably the strongest card in the deck. Being able to cheat out Evil and send a shit ton of Infernoids to the grave is extremely strong. Stronger than I think almost any other deck other than maybe Kikkalos. 1 for 1. And then 3 Triple Tactics Talent. The draw power in this deck is pretty good. Forbidden Droplet, the cost is completely negligible. And then Super Poly. For people who are familiar with Noids, you know they don't really use the extra deck a lot, so you do actually have a couple extra deck spots for Super Poly. And the discard is once again negligible. So moving on to the extra deck, I think I changed maybe 1 or 2 things from last time. So we'll start with the fusion targets, Evil. I make this almost every game now. It comes up so often. Part of your turn is just finding a way to get a Nonku into the grave and then getting this out with your Fiendsmith cards or hard fusing for it to send 10, and that's already an overwhelming advantage. We have Mud Dragon, Super Poly target, and an Instant Fusion target. If you already have access to Evil, and you don't need to get to him, being able to just call Fire, make all your guys immune to targeting, very strong. Garura, another Super Poly target, also has the added benefit of being a send off of Tierra. When Tierra is summoned, it sends cards from your extra deck, so it's got dual purpose in here, which is very important. Necroquip Princess, very strong, just being able to put an extra body on the field to get the sequence off of just 1 monster, which is very important. Aerial Eater, very usable in this deck as part of how you get Decatron into the grave if you don't have access to him at all. And then Tierra. Tierra is extremely important in this deck, not only for turning your Shaddoll Fusion into essentially a +6, or even more technically because you have the on-summon effect. It baits out tons of interaction, and if you open Snake Eye Ash plus any fusion spell, or Snake Eye Ash plus a few Noids in hand, you can basically use all 4 effects of Tierra and hand loop your opponent on turn 0, which is insanely strong. We have, this is a new inclusion in the deck, Constellar Ptolemy M7. This is part of that second combo I said. If you don't open up Polymerization, you can use this guy to add back the Fiendsmith from your grave to your hand, then search out a Dusted Gold for Poly so they can hard make Evil. And then as far as Link monsters, Anima, great in this deck. Requiem, Moon of the Closed Sky, Sequence. Sequence is better in this deck than it is in Fiendsmith. I will die on that hill. You can make Evil out of this, you can make Tierra out of it, you can make Aerial Eater out of it. Those are all, in my opinion, stronger than just making Lacrima. SP Little Knight, sometimes you just need thing to get 2 bodies off the field. Promethean Princess, Infenoid Flood, and then for the 15th slot, actually choosing to play Underworld Goddess. Since you're already playing the mini version of her, just being able to turn her into actual board wipe is very strong, especially if your opponent thinks you're bluffing the effect to target.
How often did that come up at all?
Actually, twice in my final round today against tier limits, because they're ending on like things like Rukulos and Kaleido Heart, which are kind of a little bit sticky. So just being able to use the moon to target one of them and then link both of them off the board all at once is extremely strong before you continue your plays. And then, because she is a light fiend, you can just link her off for Requiem and do your Fiendsmith combo and continue going.
That was nasty. I seen you do that.
It comes up more than you would think. If you have enough gas to keep going, you absolutely just link her off after you've used her board wipe, basically. For the side deck, it's mostly experimental. Siding in this deck is weird. Despite it being 60 cards, there's very few cards you can actually take out. So I've got Book of Clips in here for stun decks and like Fluanderies, things like that just like put up a monster that's like really annoying to deal with. Same with Cosmic Cyclone. You're just putting this in here to just deal with stun decks. You don't really have that big of a problem with stun decks because Decatron represents so much, but just having extra tools is not bad. The third Vanishment for going first to search out Feast. Called Die, I don't know, 1-up for Shifter. Skill Drain. I don't remember if I talked about this last time, but this is a deck like Snake Eye that can take advantage of Skill Drain because you can get rid of it during your turn. But the biggest difference is that you can actually play your entire end board is effectively unaffected by Skill Drain because all your monsters tribute themselves for cost. So you can still set up 5 negates that are all live under Skill Drain. I find myself frequently citing this in, even going second, because this deck just breaks boards, but if you're not able to fully clear it, being able to set up just a few huge idiots, flipping Skill Drain is usually good enough that you win going forward in that game. So this is a strategy I find myself doing a lot, and it won me, I think, 2 separate games today, citing this in going second. We play Perulia. Nothing needs to be said about this card. It's just really good going second, draw you a few cards. Card economy is extremely important in this deck. If you draw a bunch of cards, that just means your Infernoids are live, your Super Polys are live, your Droplets are live, things like that. And then get ready to see a whole lot of this gal, Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. She has dual purposes here. Obviously, it's a time card. That didn't come up today, thankfully, but it also cooks Tenpai, and it also stops certain FTKs from going off. So against like Gimmick Puppet, you just drop this and they're like, okay, what do they do now? Nothing.
They pass.
They still go off and set up, I don't know, like an interaction. Cool. So, as I mentioned, one of the new inclusions of this deck is Snake Eye Ash. Snake Eye Ash is a 1-card combo in this deck.
Of course, it's Snake Eye.
Yeah, it's Snake Eye Ash. But the lines are a little bit different than in the pure Snake Eye version. So I just wanted to go through a couple lines.
Sure.
If you just open up only Ash, which you're not going to, but if you open up only Ash, this does represent a 1-card combo. And then if you open Ash plus any 2 Noids or one of your fusion spells, you get to do a very scary turn 1. So we'll just start with Ash. So this is where it's normal Ash, search Poplar effect into the, unlike normal Snake Eye, you're not grabbing the field spell, you're actually just grabbing original. The field spell, like I said earlier, only if you already have access to original. So you don't really need to do this, but you can go Poplar, link it off, just if you want to conserve some bodies. Original, send off the Poplar. This grabs you Decatron, and then Decatron effect on summon. You're gonna send the big one here, Anonku, and that's how you get it into the grave early. Then you go Ash effect, send itself in Decatron. For the Oak, Oak reborns, or Oak targets the Decatron to reborn, and then you can just use Decatron again. People ask me every time I play this deck, oh, that card's not once per turn? No. No, none of them are. So Decatron, doesn't really matter what you send here, just a big ass name. And then you go Oak, send the Decatron again. Into Flamberge. Link these two off. For sequence, and then you trigger Flamberge effect. Grab Decatron, and then one other level 1 fire, and then Decatron effect again. Just send another big name, just get them out of the deck. And then because you have a couple names in grave, you can activate sequence effect to fuse 2 Infenoids. Into Infenoid Evil. If you want, at this point, you could have sent like a monster or spell negate off of the Decatron, depending on what you think your opponent's playing. So if you really want this to resolve, like an Imperm, you can send a Nonku for the spell negate, or Deviati for the monster negate for like a Valor or an Ash, depending on what you put your opponent on having. So Evil will banish the Anonku for cost to send Infernal monsters with different names equal to its level. So it's very important, not up to, it has to be exactly, so you do have to play a lot of Noid names in this deck, and this is part of why we do. So you basically just send the entire gamut. I'm going to send all 10 here. And that's how you get some of your resources back. Then you can take sequence, and really any of these guys, it doesn't actually matter. We're gonna take Decatron into Princess, and then Princess effect to revive Flamberge, and then you can go Flamberge effect, target the Decatron and put it in the back row. Once again, you could have sent a Decatron with the Evil. If you still have a spell or trap negate up that you really want to keep up, or if you're just wanting to play around Nibiru, you can still keep the Decatron this entire time, if that's what you would like to do. Then Evil and Princess for Flood, who requires an Infernoid monster, and then Evil effect to search. This is a card I only just started trying to main deck. It felt a little win more, but at the same time, if you do get hand trapped to death, just being able to Evil search Banishment and Banishment search Feast by discarding a card is very strong. If part of the line, if you don't go into the Anima, you'll usually not have this Oak on field, so it depends on like if you're going first or second. If you're going first, you usually don't go into that line, and then you can just banish 3 for either Anonku or Deviati. Once again, whatever you want to play around. If you want to put up a spell negate, put up a spell negate. If you want to put up a monster negate, put up a monster negate. The end board doesn't look super overwhelming, but what this does represent is a monster summon negate, a spell trap or monster negate, whatever you want. Flamberge summons Decatron. Decatron, you can send another negate, and then you can tribute the Flamberge or tribute itself. And then once the Flamberge is gone, either by tributing off of the Anonku or Flood, you grab back the Oak and the Poplar, and then the Oak brings back the Decatron. Poplar searches your field spell, and the Decatron you can send another interaction, whether it be another negate or a DD Crow, and then you still have Feast to summon more Decatrons from the deck and Sajet, which can turn into more negates or another DD Crow. So you're effectively looking at like a maximum of something like 5 negates on your opponent's turn, plus like 3 DD Crows, plus the entire board floats. Plus you have a ton of resources engraved for the follow-up, so you can just immediately, on your follow-up turn, banish the Evil that's engraved, search out Void Imagination, and then basically summon all of your guys back from grave because they'll all be level 1s, and then just that's clearing through almost anything. In my opinion, I think not only the end board is stronger than Snake Eye, but I think the follow-up is also stronger than Snake Eye. That being said, you're also running 20 Garnets basically in the deck. But it's a little more fun that way, honestly. I don't know. Just
Sure.
throw some stuff on here.
Thanks, Garrett. I really appreciate the... That's it. That's it.
The.
The.
No, you can't cut that shit together.
Congratulations, and thanks for the deck profile.
Absolutely. Thank you.